do it.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's get talking more on this matter. Professor Bola Akintola has joined us, an international diplomacy expert, a former Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, NRA, and the President, Polytech Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies. Many thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Very interesting time in the West African politics and how much interest Nigeria has. We've seen the warship being deployed, men on the ground being deployed, and also aircraft, war aircraft being deployed earlier today to the Gambia. One will wonder, is what Nigeria doing in the Gambia and the interest the right one?
Well, there are many ways of looking at it. First of all, if we do take account of the fact that we do have Nigerians in virtually all the nooks and crannies of the region, yes, we can say Nigeria does have a stake, and there is the need to do whatever is humanly possible to get our nationals and interests well protected. A second way of looking at it is that the ECOWAS, as a regional body, has taken a decision and has actually appointed Nigeria's leader, our own PMB, President Muhammadu Buhari, to lead a mediation committee. Ghana is the other country. And in this case, Nigeria has the responsibility within the framework of uti possidetis, that is sanctity of agreements, reached within the framework of the ECOWAS, to fulfill that sanctity of agreements. So Nigeria agreed to lead, you know, the way for the sub-region. Thirdly, and perhaps more importantly, we have the factor of the principle, the defense doctrine of Nigeria, which is that any crisis, any conflict taking place, even in faraway Mali, the Gambia, should be considered as if it is happening within the immediate neighborhood. That is, you must contain all crises and conflicts far away. Do not allow the conflicts to come closer to you. So the better you contain the conflicts far away, the better. But on the other hand, when you look at it, can we say the crisis in the Gambia merits all the efforts when we are now looking at Nigeria's specific interest, national interest? If you look at history, you go down the memory lane, you will discover that we've been helping the Gambia. But the extent to which the Gambia has been very supportive of Nigeria's national interest, especially at the level of the United Nations, there's no big deal about that. Please recall when
We've been responsible to them, but they've not been responsible to us.
They have not. And I'm saying specifically that, look, there was the time when Nigeria was aspiring, all right, to have a non-permanent seat for a period of 2 years, yes. The ECOWAS, the regional body, endorsed Nigeria as ECOWAS candidate. And the candidature of Nigeria was taken to far away Addis Ababa, the headquarters of the African Union. The African Union endorsed Nigeria's candidature at the level of ECOWAS. When the ECOWAS endorsed Nigeria's candidature, Nigeria was considered as ECOWAS candidate. No more Nigeria's candidate, but ECOWAS candidate. When the African Union further endorsed ECOWAS candidate, with Gabon also. Gabon was the candidate for Central Africa by that time. The two countries were endorsed as Africa's candidates. But now, at the level of the UN, when the voting was done, when the votes were cast, please, what's the position of a country like Sierra Leone, the Gambia, Togo?
Some of those countries that we have intervened
precisely, Please. In fact, Ban Ki-moon by that time, he was not conscious of the fact that he was speaking to the microphone. When the votes were being counted, they got to where you have these West African countries. They were not listed at all for voting. They were neither candidates, all right? They can only vote.
Well, should we say that the effort Nigeria is putting, we're sending our troops there, we're sending warship, we're sending military, isn't that too much a role to play?
First of all, at times it is good to make haste slowly. Nigeria is not doing that one. And Nigeria must be more careful. Because about a few hours ago, reports have it that the National Assembly of the Gambia voted, all right, and resolved that they are extending the stay of President Yahya Jammeh for 3 months to enable not just the complaints, the constitutionality factor. So now already, when we are talking about state of emergency that Yahya Jammeh introduced yesterday, now the National Assembly, representing the interests of the people, even though we know quite well that his party, Jammeh, has majority in the National Assembly. The bitter truth now is that the National Assembly has pronounced and has now extended his stay.
But,
so
I mean,
what will be the usefulness of taking soldiers there or wanting to go?
If Nigeria insists that Jammeh must go, even with all of this on the ground, the National Assembly in Gambia saying he should stay for another 3 months, what do you think the implication might be?
No, you see, Nigeria does not have the sovereign right or the plurilateral sovereign right to do that.
But another question will be, again, that when we are sending troops, is it not the prerogative of the National Assembly in Nigeria to deliberate and agree that we're going to intervene in this manner, especially sending a military, our military into that region?
No, Sean, I'm not talking about the National Assembly of
I'm even
Nigeria.
saying our own role now.
Yes.
Shouldn't it be backed by the by the permission of our own National Assembly before we send our troops?
You cannot be more correct. Under a normal setting, that will be the case. But the issue is that Nigeria has a dualist policy. The dualist policy is that when an agreement is done internationally outside of Nigeria, it does not go automatically into execution at the level of Nigeria. All right? Nigeria is not a monist country. In international law, a distinction is made between monism and dualism. Countries that are described as monist are countries that will take whatever agreement done and agree to internationally automatically. It's just like an executive agreement, self-executing. So when you sign an agreement internationally, you execute automatically. But at the level of Nigeria, it's dualist.
Okay, just bringing on the issue now, Prof. You're experienced in all of this issue. You've seen this kind of situation happen several times in Africa and in other parts of the world. As it stands now, Nigeria is playing a major role. What do you think Nigeria will be doing as Mr. Jammeh in other debates that he has about 24 hours to leave?
Well, I think that for Nigeria as a country and for Muhammadu Buhari as head of the mediation team, there is no way they can move beyond the political will of the National Assembly of the Gambia that has just made a pronouncement to say, okay, we are extending. They are the people.
Okay, all right. We must leave it at that. We've benefited so much from your experience, Professor Bola Akintanura, President, Boligar Center for International Diplomacy and Strategic Studies. Many thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
That's our show tonight. Many thanks for being part of it. On behalf of the team, I'm Sean Bye for now.